Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Creative Collaborations Conversations with Veronica and Jillian. And as always, I'm Veronica and I'm here with Jillian. Hello, Jillian.
Oh, hi there. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, or whatever day it is. So today we're going to chat about 3 lessons learned from our time owning businesses and growing businesses over the years. I'm very interested to hear your lessons learned. But before we dig into that, check-ins. What's new with you? What's going on? What has happened this last stretch of days, hours since we last chatted? Any new tools, discoveries, any fun facts, anything? Give us inside scoop on something. What's new in Veronica land?
As you know, I'm quite an impulsive person, so I think I think it will be a small rant this time because while we were trying to, and of course, you know what I'm going to chat about, but while we were trying to record this episode, we did have some technical issues and some what's the word I'm looking for? Classical technical issues.
Yes.
We all have them.
But so cliche, right?
Yes, they're so frustrating. So Zoom, whatever you're doing, make our life easier, please.
I know.
We did have to switch accounts and to figure it out what is happening. So
yeah. I will say I like how on Google Meet, if you want to blur your background, it blurs it like it's a more subtle blur. So you look kind of normal. But when you use the blur the background in Zoom, it makes you look like the Terminator. Like it's like a strange kind of a look. So this is not to throw stones at Zoom, but yeah, it looks like I look like I have no ears if I don't have my AirPods in. It's like it looks strange. But this is not like let's throw stones at Zoom. It's just
it
happens to be
Zoom, we do like
technical difficulty. Yeah, technical difficulty.
Make it better.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Cool. So I just demonstrated the blur. I do use it quite a lot, but now this is my rant of the week because it just happened. I do feel a little frustrated about it. But now that I've said it, it's out and I'm going to give space for something else. How about, please do tell me you don't have a rant as well.
I don't really have a rant. What do I have to share today? So I guess I'm going to go with the very vanilla approach of sharing a fun fact. Although our last episode, my fun fact, maybe in hindsight, wasn't really actually a fun fact. This one might be. Maybe it's not either. Oh, actually, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to share an actual fun fact. All right. I just thought of a better one. Okay. So I once had an amazing opportunity to sing on stage with my favorite musician, Natalie Merchant.
Wow.
So I'm not sure if you know her. Yeah, really incredible. It was like, God, 20 years ago or more. And it was a really kind of out of body experience. I was backstage with her bass player's kids and she called us out. And so I brought the kids out on stage and next thing I know, their kids were next to me and then they ran off stage to be with their mother and she was there. And so we were like side by side singing These Are the Days. It was like, it was so long ago. This is like pre-social media, pre-cell phone days. So for years, my wife and I have been scouring the internet trying to see, is there any video proof of this? So far, we haven't found any, but this was probably 2000. The Lilith Fair in Boston, Massachusetts,
so
US.
If anyone is listening, do you have
you were there? Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure you send it to Jillian.
Yeah, that one just came to me in this moment. These are the days. Yeah, so that's my little fun fact. It has zero to do with business, but it's a core memory for me. So now you get to know about it.
And that makes it better. I forgot about my rent.
Yeah, see? Right? Oh boy. All right. So we're going to talk three main, like your biggest lessons learned, like 3 insights that you have gained over the years? What do you have?
I always find it hard, like, why did we choose this topic? Because
Yeah.
it's fun, but honestly,
I know.
When I'm interviewed or asked this, I find I have a moment when I just stop. And I think this is why it's good to talk about it, because I don't think they're just 3 lessons. I think there are more, but the main 3 things that you need to, that actually impacted everything that I do. And it kind of relates a little bit with the previous episode that we did about the networking, because one of the biggest lessons is actually, is just surround yourself. Just be curious, actually. Be curious and surround yourself with people. This curiosity, you never know what will lead you, or who you're going to meet by being curious and chatting with people, or technology that you're going to do, or like the story that you just shared. You have no idea what happened. You are in the backstage and then you end up being on the stage singing, right?
Right.
So being curious, I think that will, even if, don't get me wrong, it's very important to have a direction in your business, but by being curious, that will enable you to maybe bring something new, or innovate, or adapt, or do different things. And I think it's very important to do that. And that also connects with the networking, with meeting people.
And so can I ask a quick question about that for a moment? Because it occurs to me, like, this topic of, it's like probably not the greatest time to ask this question, but it just occurred to me, is the topic of 3 lessons learned the same as like 3 things I wish I had known when I was starting? Are those 2 different topics, or are they related?
I think they're different, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe there will be a couple of things that will match.
Yeah.
The curiosity, I think it's more a feature that I have, and it's something that I believe, and I'm always, if you know me, I'm always going to do that. If you attended my online networking with the speed, you're always going to hear me saying that. I wouldn't say I'm doing it, so it's not something that I wish I would have done. I think because I did it helped me grow my business and helped me be where I am at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
So I wouldn't, maybe what will be another one that I wish, and that is also a lesson, is be very careful with whom you're associating. So in terms of strategic partnerships, that's something very important you need in order to grow your business. And I'm pretty sure you're gonna have a story very close to that. But it's a lesson that actually you do need to, I'm going to be very screw it up sometimes, because if you don't, you're never going to learn. And I'm not a big fan of, I always had difficulties with this fail fast, and you need to fail in order to succeed. I do understand the mentality behind, but I'm not really keen in how it's said, because a lot of people take it literally. It's okay, I need to fail. I just need to fail to move forward. Sometimes they forget to learn the lesson while doing that. So I don't think the failing should be, if of course you're going to fail, that's a given, but you shouldn't go into any activity or business or opportunity or whatever with the idea it's okay to fail, or I'm going to fail, because you're going to attract it in one way.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It's a very fine, it's a very fine line there.
Yeah.
So if it happens, it's not the end of the world, and learn from it. But if your mindset is it's okay to fail, maybe you're not going to go that extra mile, or you're not going to look for an extra or a different perspective or a different way of doing things, because you're it's okay if I'm going to fail. And it's that the words have a very, very powerful impact in everything that we are doing. So if you're telling yourself that, you kind of not,
it's like you almost like let yourself off the hook too easily. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I can see that. That's a really good one. I hadn't thought of that. That's a really good one.
So I strongly believe in the power of words and how they make you feel. And if you start with something negative, you'll that doesn't mean you'll be negative, but you are not, your state of mind is slightly different.
Yeah. And how about a third?
A third, oh gosh, actually, I think I have more. So definitely, it's very important with who you are partnering, because you need to be careful and have like strong agreements in place. I was thinking if I should say boundaries or agreements, but it's actually very good when you enter a partnership to really write down what that partnership involves. What are the limits? Actually, we did something similar when we started that. What's the objective? What are we doing it? What do we feel comfortable with, and what we don't feel comfortable with? We spent months actually getting to know each other and developing this project. Yes. But I think it's very important, because me personally, I did enter different partnerships on like, oh, I have a good connection. We do in line without really doing proper background check, and failure. And I think that's the thing. Do a proper background check. Do your due diligence. Make sure you're connecting, and don't be afraid to say no if it's not connecting, because another opportunity will gonna come. And I think another big lesson is this: learn to listen to your gut feeling. And if something doesn't feel align, just say no. I did that also with clients, and was the hardest thing, especially when you're at the beginning and you need the money and you're like, does it make sense? Am I just saying no to a huge opportunity? But always when you're looking back, you'll see it's not like that. If it's not clicking, and if you need to, when I say, I'm going to say work too hard, but that doesn't mean you don't need to work, but you need to force it.
Yeah.
When you need to force it, that's the word, not to work hard. When you need to force it, then that means something is not clicking, being either in terms of values, you're not in line, or maybe parties are following different goals, or something is not clear in the communication, or something, one of the parties doesn't feel, the parties don't feel equally, probably. That's the way, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's on point. Those are three really good ones. Really good lessons learned.
Everything else, you'll always find, just look for a different perspective, do things differently, try different things. I think everyone will going to share that, but what I'm realizing, it's about, if you with yourself are happy with the decision and the direction, then everything will going to follow. You know what you're saying, a happy house, a happy wife, a happy house, I think is the same. Yeah. And the child will be good if the mother is good. Everything comes to the same. If you are in charge, and if you feel comfortable, and you feel confident, and you feel, yes, that's the way we go as a leader, because you as an entrepreneur are the leader, even if it's a one-man show or a team, everything will follow into place afterwards.
That is so on point. I have to just say for a minute, just, wow. And thinking about how, because I was recently interviewed on a podcast to talk about downsizing an agency, which is like the least sexy topic out there, but that's like, I'm all for it.
Very important one.
Talk about the things that other people don't want to talk about publicly. So I talked about it, and I framed it in such a way that's authentic to me. And it was about making the choice to downsize. And the reason that I did, there are a couple of reasons, but one of probably the original reason is because I started to feel out of alignment with the clients we were working with and the deliverables, like what services we were providing to them, and just feeling like it just wasn't a match, and just more and more felt like this is really not it. So I like went through that firing of client situation, where just like literally telling, I had like my largest client at the time, I told them, actually for quite a while, tried to encourage them to go elsewhere, but finally told them that at the end of the year, they would no longer be able to afford me, that no matter how much they would pay, I would charge $1 more, kind of thing. And that instead, and that the reason for it is that, and it's truly what I believed, is because I believed that they needed to reallocate the money they were spending to me to hire somebody to manage their business, because I felt and still feel you can't outsource leadership, accountability, and culture. And that's what was happening. And Yeah. So I told them
I
to
think they
hire
were trying to
a business,
hire you actually.
and they were like, what? Like, really? And I'm like, really? I said, I'll even help you interview the candidates. I'll tell you who's the best candidate. I'll help onboard them, everything. And they were like wondering, is like, am I going to get eaten if I cross the river here? What's happening? But anyhow, but it was so much about this and trusting the gut and just knowing. And so I followed through on that. And so that's like, was a kind of step on the journey of like pivoting my focus to really come back into alignment, which is again, part of the being deliberate about downsizing. So anyway, that's a really great one that, anyway, don't mean to go off on a tangent about that, but thanks for that's an excellent one.
Actually, I'm curious, would you say this will be one of your 3 lessons, or what are your 3 lessons?
So my first one is to have a support system. And by that, I mean, it can be a mastermind, it can be whatever it is, like a group of people in your city or something that you hang with, or an online group, or some group outside of your own business, and ideally outside of your own family or your own home, a place where you can speak candidly and share wins, share struggles, challenges, talk through opportunities, just to talk through all of those things, and then also to be uplifted. And so to go back to my question about, is this something I wish I'd known, or is this a kind of a lesson learned? That one, it checks both boxes, because it's definitely something in hindsight, looking over my past 10 plus years with this agency, this business, I value that so much that I now have that in place. And I recognize how much I wish I had that earlier on, because frankly, at the time when I started, I did not realize that the growth I was experiencing was really significant. I didn't even know that I was doing a good job. I just thought I'm just doing what I do. And I always could see the areas that needed improvement. I never once recognized, the good that was happening. So I wish I had that in place earlier on. It's ironic because I had a large network, but I never really shared too much about what I was doing. So I guess it was like unreciprocated network. So I was so much more comfortable being available to other people and listening and helping them grow their businesses, and lifting them up when they needed it, and all of those things, that I never actually gave them the opportunity to do the same for me. So anyway, I realized that's a big one
here, but I realized actually always at the support group, more informal or formal, there are different versions of that. And you're so right, you do need it, because let's be honest, life as an entrepreneur is really hard. And it's beautiful, but it's hard, and you're going to have a lot of down moments. So I'm so happy you mentioned this, because you need, and it's so important, as you said, to be outside of your organization, because everybody are going to get so caught up into the day-to-day problems that you're not able to see the bigger picture, and you forget. What I'm realizing actually, it's you forget to appreciate and to celebrate the small wins and the big wins.
Yes.
Those are so important. Those are so important to be able to get the energy to move forward.
Absolutely. And it's much easier, I think, for a lot of people, I'll speak for myself. It's, much easier for me to recognize and to celebrate wins for you, to identify little things and to call them out, than it is for me. Because for me, I'm so focused on like down the road, I'm focused on all that I still need to do, what wasn't so great, what I need to improve on. I don't recognize those things. And I love to be able to identify and celebrate those for others. But I also need to allow that. Yeah. Look at that.
We start doing this. We start like, okay, weekly, what are we celebrating?
Yes, that's a really good one. Let's add that. I think that's something to celebrate. Yeah, I think that's a good one, because it's so easy to focus on all the stuff that isn't or hasn't been done yet, or we need to do, and
The rabbit hole. You just go into, and I need that. So that means I need to do that in order to achieve it. And and we do forget. I have a wonderful, I don't know if it's mastermind accountability. It's a group of amazing women that we meet every 2 weeks, and we talk about everything and nothing. And I do realize it's so important. They keep on saying we do need to celebrate, and I'm realizing we are not really celebrating ourselves. And it's so hard. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, or if we're so much into I need to achieve more, or I'm not where I want to be, that we actually forget to where am I now?
Yeah, it's so true. I remember when my book came out, it was like a few years back, 2016, my book came out. And around that time, and still now, years later, people will say, "Oh my gosh, that's so amazing." And still now I feel like, really? Like it is. I'm grateful. I'm beyond grateful that I had the opportunity to work on that project through relationships and networking and whatnot. That was an incredible opportunity and experience. But, I went into like a Barnes and Noble back in the day when there were like a lot of brick and mortar bookstores that we would just go into. And, I could walk in like the business section or marketing section, and I know many of the authors. So I felt like all these like New York Times bestsellers, all of these things. So it felt like what, for me to have a book was like basic. It felt like my view of it was so skewed, right? Super biased. So I didn't really celebrate it. I just was very matter of fact about it. But I just like in this moment thinking about, you come out with a book, I'm going to be like, girl, that's amazing, because that's so much work. And like, wow, to have an idea, to take an idea all the way through like execution and then launching it, that's like a major undertaking. So I it's just a tangible example of exactly this. So I think, I vote for us to move forward.
You know what is, we actually, as Spin, we organize 4 conferences that I never really properly celebrated after the first one was, and even if it was the first time, we actually published 4 books as well. And I never even go and talk about it.
I'm thinking, wow,
it's done, let's move forward. And it's work that you don't appreciate.
Where are they? I don't even know about them. I haven't seen them anywhere.
You can find them on the website. Actually, the books are part of the conference, and it's a collection of. So what we realized after the conference is it's so much information, you are not able to digest all of it. And we are thinking,
yeah, of course,
can we actually take advantage of this? We have amazing people with amazing experience. So we decided to take the most, like a summary, if you want, of the sessions, and to put them in a book. So
that's a great idea. So for like download like ebooks, I could download whichever.
Yes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I don't have it here at this point. I just moved, and all my books are still everywhere. But we do have physical books for the first one as well that we gave at the conference. So we did a lot of things that I kind of take it for granted, or I find, of course, I'm going to do that. But when someone, exactly like you said, like you have a book about marketing, mine is about something else, it's a collaboration, but you actually have your own book. It's forget to, maybe we are just too shy or too afraid to be proud of what we do.
Yeah, I think we need to call each other out on that and make sure we're celebrating something. There's got to be at least one thing that we can celebrate each time. So I definitely think that's
not a rant or fun fact. What are we celebrating? Maybe
yes, it's a higher value. Yeah, it's definitely a higher value. So that was my first one, is to kind of have your posse, have your network, have your support, people that challenge you, people that support you, both. It's like, I think equally, it's people who challenge us are really, at least for me, I want people that will challenge my ideas, challenge my thinking, but I also need people that will celebrate as well and lift me up and encourage me and that kind of thing. So that's number 1. Number 2 is like very much in the weeds and like a giant pain in the ass thing, but it's so important. Again, I wish I had done a better job of it earlier on, and I still am not excellent at it. But it is to keep track of my own personal time. What am I spending my time on? I think, so it reminds me, this came to mind, also, it's been an ongoing thing, but also I recently had a meeting with a client, and there are 2 co-founders, and talking about they're in their like 3rd year or something. we're talking about how they need to do this, because if you don't really know how, like, where you're spending your time, first of all, to be able to see, because it feels like everything's important, but to be able to allocate the proper amount of time to actual, like, revenue generating opportunities, as opposed to just hanging out in all of the supporting stuff, right? And the other thing that can happen is if you're, doing all of these things, you don't know how much, time you're spending. When the day comes that you can hire somebody in kind of, or outsource some of those, you don't really have any idea of how to quantify the amount of time it should take.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are just a couple of the reasons. Yeah. But one other thing I'll throw in there, it's really easy for people, for us, I'll just say people rhetorically, to feel like, oh, I'm working so much on my business. Or let's say for family to be like, oh, you're working so much on your business and what's going on? It's like, but are we working? It's like, where do we draw the line between, oh, we're networking on LinkedIn or something, but like, for how many hours? And like, is there any strategy involved? Is there any data? Are we keeping track of any of this to be able to know? So I think that, so I feel like keeping track of time, and then we'll say / just time management, is a major one. So
I love this.
that's,
and I do recommend it. And I think it's also important to see, because of course you're going to allocate more time in the beginning, or there are specific moments in your business where you have to be more present.
Yep.
But do you need to be there all the time? Because it kind of becomes a habit. Yep. And it's very hard to take yourself out of the equation and just say, no, this is not under me. I'm not even micromanaging. I'm not even managing this. I just need to know the results, and that's it. And I do struggle with this, I have to say. It's hard. Yep. You draw the line. If anyone has the answer, please let us know. I know.
Yeah. So I've started, so I don't know, at some point I feel like I want to show you what I've worked on for this, like looking at my, like, how to structure my time and my work week, and like looking at the total number of hours I have available, and then all the things that I should be spending my time on. And so, for example, one of the things I've always enjoyed doing is to schedule thinking time, which is like literally time to think. And so for me, thinking time is whiteboard time, to be able to draw out ideas and connecting dots and creating things. And just to be able to do that, I need to be able to have that time. But then there's also like actual work time. So making sure all of those things are scheduled, and then, meetings and everything else. So trying to be very realistic, but, scheduled, to make sure things happen. So anyway, I've been working on that for a bit. And that, I think, relates to my last one. I would say if you've done the previous ones, and this next one is to do your, to work on your BHAG first every day. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the acronym BHAG. It's from Jim Collins, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal. Yeah. For anybody that is not aware or familiar, to work on that. And that like golden nugget was shared with me years ago by a gentleman who's an older gentleman who has had an extremely successful career in the corporate world, managing a very large portfolio, multinational conglomerate, and then started a coaching business for executives. And so I was fortunate to have been introduced to him, and we became friends. And so he was like my pseudo coach. And this is one of the things he shared. He told me that in all of his years in business, he said the two most kind of common like pitfalls, or the two things that most entrepreneurs or just business people have struggled with. Number one, he told me, is to raise my prices. Actually, he said that most people never do that because they are afraid they're going to lose customers and clients. So that was a really interesting one. So I instituted that immediately and had great results. But that's not one of my three things. That was just a little extra piece from this business coach whose name was Henry. But the second thing he told me, it also was the kind of advice that I was able to put into motion immediately, and also have very, very obvious results, which is this scheduling my BHAG first every day, because otherwise we get lost in like the to-do list and we're like working on things. And there's the difference between being busy and being productive and actually moving the needle forward on our bigger projects. And he said, like how he taught me, said, to start each day on that first, before looking at emails, before going into social, before hitching our brains to anything else, to immediately go to our desk and start working on our big project for, a dedicated hour or two or whatever you're able to do. And that's like the idea of working in the business versus on the business.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like, working on the big thing first each day to make sure that gets done. And so that's my lesson learned as far as doing that earlier on. I think I kind of did that earlier on a little bit, especially because I met him earlier on. So that was a really helpful piece. But it's also a takeaway too, or one of the lessons learned in business. So those are my three.
I like them. And related to the last one of my clients, actually, Julie Perkins with Wise Minds, this is exactly what she's doing for female entrepreneurs, because it's so easy. And I know I'm guilty of that, and all of us are guilty of that at a specific point, to lose track of why are you doing it? What's that big goal that you have? It's so good to actually start with what is important, because it's so easy to get lost in emails and phone calls and meetings and everything else. But why did you start your business? How can you love your business again? How she says it, and I love that. How can you fall in love with your business again? And it makes perfect sense.
That's a great way. That's a great closing kind of comment for our episode, I think. How can you fall in love with your business again?
And she says, how to find joy, bring joy back in your business. That's her logo. But I do like better than falling in love, actually.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm pretty excited about giving Julie a nice plug. So this is a plug for Julie Perkins at Wise Minds. So we'll have to link her up in the show notes. Yeah, send her some love.
We should cool. She can be a great guest speaker, actually. We need
for sure.
Do that.
For sure.
Julie, if you're listening, I'm going to reach out to you.
Get ready. Yeah. So excellent. This is really helpful. I really appreciated hearing your 3 lessons learned. This is a good one. So hopefully other people appreciate them as well. So yeah, I'm going to take my 2 takeaways from today is to think about that. It's like how to fall in love with my business again. And then also to try to be cognizant of wins, or what would constitute a win, so I can have something to share. So let me try to think about that.
Yeah, I think we forget to celebrate, and I think that's the biggest thing, that if we celebrate, that we can actually fall in love with our business, because we are happy with what we are doing, and we get the energy to do everything else.
Right. That's right.
And
that's right.
I'm realizing what we need to do is what you said, work more in your business versus
on the business
or in your business. And I think that's very important to make this differentiation, and to I think I'm so caught up with the day-to-day activities that I forget to take the step back. And I think that will be the biggest learning, to reschedule. And I used to schedule time for that, but I need to go back to the drawing board, basically, and do that.
Yes.
So,
whiteboard time. Yeah.
Whiteboard time.
So, all right. So I think that's a wrap for today. So
thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Cheers.
Bye.